by how amazing and powerful and difficult life is, rather than just going into the gray zone, keeping your head down, hoping that at some point in your life you'll be able to take those big breaths and say, you know what, I think I'm actually enjoying my life finally. We always have a lot to go up against, and so it's a really nice place to keep getting cathartic release of, you know, my character's gonna die. Okay, so we go into the booth, and that kind of gets that out of the body. Because don't we all have a little bit of that energy in ourselves sometimes? We're like, you know, it'd be nice if there was more scream booths. Just a booth I could go into and scream and then come back out and feel like, okay, I can do more life for another, how much more of the day is there? Okay. And you know, after a while, I took down the curtains, I took down the egg cartons off the ceiling when those were how I started, right? We all go with, well, what can I afford? What can I do? And this was nice because they were on hospital rails. So, you know, you'd put your soft box around you, and then you'd put it away, and it would just be at the wall with just, it was really nice. It kind of gave us our space. We've got a family that's growing. We want to make sure that everyone can enjoy our home. And then during COVID, I'd luckily already been putting together this kind of like 3 by 3 foot, like a closet, right? Like a floating closet booth. It's our scream booth. We can go in there and be, I mean, we can hear each other a little bit. But what a fantastic piece of real estate. It's in the laundry room. It's not glamorous. But that's the other thing. From my laundry room in a 3 by 3 foot box, I get to participate in this. They get to participate in this. And not that I expect anyone to just be able to do that, but for very little control and investment, you can find the way that you will be able to contribute. And I don't want to say that, again, that it's just like, I turned on the microphone on the computer and the jobs just flowed in. It's work. You're going to have to put yourself out there, and that's daunting, of course. But so is getting used to how your offering is going to be different. When you get that audition, you go, I want to do good work. I hope this is good work, send, and no one calls you. Quickly, you start getting the reinforcement of lesson that that's not what people are looking for. And one of the greatest things that helped me as a younger artist was to stop trying to please them and start trying to please that guest that you want to try out. Because you have no idea what they want. Really, really. There's 2 ways you get a job. You match exactly what they wanted in their head, and they go, how did you know? And you're like, I didn't. So that was really nice. But more often than not, you get it because you surprise them. You surprise them by contributing a way of being that they hadn't considered. They'd never thought of it that way. And they go, I don't even know if it's right. We probably won't go that way on the day. I'll probably direct them to maybe still align more with my vision, but because they were willing to go to that layer of offering, I'm going to have a really interesting collaboration with that artist. They are going to be bravely honest and creative and striving. And while not all of that's going to be gold, because it's just not, enough of it's going to be that they're going to say, well, your good guess and my good ideas are going to come together and make something better than the sum of its parts. That was only a tangentially weird response to your question. I know we had this and then this. So.
Follow with your tangent of your...
Which one?
Follow with your tangent of the soft curtains and the eggshell curtains.
Yeah.
What would you say would be an appropriate entry-level microphone and sound system that can be available without having to break the bank on Amazon, without going into
Totally.
way, that kind of thing?
Totally. Usually these kinds of questions are really good based on what am I trying to achieve? Because if I need a whisper room level microphone, we're talking a different type of investment. But for people that want to podcast or stream or have kind of just more mid-range types of offerings, there's a lot between the $50 and $150 range. You know, a lot of people are using, you know, Yetis and the Scarlett, the AT2020s. They've got USB and XLR versions of that. So again, coming back to like control, if you don't know what gain is, that's how much basically like the ear of the microphone is going to be open. The higher the gain, the higher that ear is going to be open. That's really good for whisper work, right? Because you're going to be right up on that ear. And when you want to be yelly at it, you close down that ear or reduce the gain. This is different than volume buttons. So sometimes that's a little bit confusing, especially on USB mics that tend not to give you gain control. Gain control is great to have like a knob where you can go, I'm talking at this level. This is fine for my gain, but I'm going to get bigger, so I need to turn the gain down while I'm working. Otherwise, I need to probably record those in separate passes and then edit them together. I'm not an engineer. I'm also lazy. I don't like to do that. So, you know, the kind of control you want to get into. If you're doing ASMR, you probably want to figure out, okay, what kind of control for ambient sound do I need? And maybe the microphone's not as crucial, because I'm just going to get right up on it and get weird with it. But I want to make sure that around the mic head, and there's lots of you know, relatively digestible investments you can make for like a screen that gives you like 180 degree. Yeah, like with a metal backing, but inside are all the acoustic panels. I've got one of those for like when I'm on the road, like I'll go to a hotel room, I'll kind of just put like a pillow on top of it and squat into this little booth, and it's okay. It's not ideal, but I've got an engineer friend who really likes these little, they're almost like the size of a lighter. It's called a Samsung Go, not Samsung with the G, Samsung Go. He's an engineer and he has a good ear, and he's like, yeah, these little things give surprisingly good USB control, and I don't use one myself, but for people that would just like to have something like super basic, elevates them out of the internal mechanisms of their device, then there are really accessible ways. And a lot of people don't even have a booth. They go into their closet. They go into their closet or they make a pillow fort out of their couch. You can do these things. It's just if you want to do this often, then that becomes a bit of a logistical challenge. How often is your couch going to be a pillow fort? And does that matter to you? Because maybe it doesn't, especially for the last 2 years. Maybe we just live in pillow forts. But, you know, in terms of like a bit of acoustic foam or even just some dense materials to help dampen the sound, we're looking to reduce echo, right? We're wanting to have soft surfaces so that the hard rebound or echo is diminished or hopefully eliminated so that it just sounds clean. And there's probably a myriad of different answers to that question, but that's kind of like a catch-all as to maybe how to frame your thought process on it. Because if investment isn't the biggest issue, it's more like space, or it's more like outcome. Then you start to go, okay, I don't want to break the bank. I'm not going to get a $1,000 mic the first time I'm doing this, but maybe I do want to get like an AT2020 XLR because I want that extra control. I know I'm going to want to be able to do whisper work and bombastic work, and that means you're going to peak all over the place unless you've got the ability to reduce that gain. That said, a lot of people on USB, they preset the gain on the program. If you're using something free like GarageBand or Audacity, you can just reduce that down. It's a little gain knob right near the top, usually on the left. Whatever, there's so much tutorial, you don't have to get that from me, but you can just reduce that by 10, 15, let's see what it goes like. And if you're seeing very little waveforms, if you know what waves of music look like, you know, you want robust waves, you want them to have good peaks and valleys, but you don't want to have a flat top and bottom because then you've lost information. And that's usually when engineers are like, I can't do anything with that because it's peaked. We've blown past what the ear of the microphone was capable of handling. So with regards to gain and types of equipment, and then of course mic technique, like you don't get as close to the mic and shout at it as you're going to do for whisper work. It's also not great for your microphone, but you know, mic technique about, you know, giving space for the types of size you want to give. And maybe not even going directly on the mic for big plosives, our P's, all that powerful air. Maybe glance that just off the side of the mic so you don't get all that big air sound. Or the old shush trick. If you talk in front of your shush finger, that air gets splayed off that finger and it doesn't have the opportunity to hit that microphone. A lot of us use a pop screen, I highly recommend it, but I also have a pencil taped on my pop screen to create another barrier where the air has to splay, but the sound keeps going through. These are tricks that have made my life a lot more efficient, but none of them are the magic key. None of them are the piece that allows you to know the whole puzzle. So any and all questions that you guys have, I give graciously because we're all going to be able to offer something unique and different, and I want it all to be to the level that you hopefully feel is a good representation of what you are and how you want to contribute.
So for voice acting, what do you think is the biggest part? Focus more on the acting part or more of like the speech and the talking part? It kind of depends. I'm going into a course for voice acting specifically, so that's why I'm just wondering, what do you think would be the biggest path that I should follow?
Totally. And you know what? It's not the same path for everyone. It's not a linear, hey, if you do A like I did A, we'll both get B.
Yeah.
You know, your unique pros and cons, your unique opportunities and challenges that your own vessel has to offer. You know, some of us have really strong diaphragmatic breathing because we grew up in sport or music or something that really encouraged that type. But a lot of us didn't. And we breathe into our shoulders and we've got no stamina when it comes to our breath power. So a lot of people have to go to foundational stuff of like, I need to build strength, stamina, capacity, skill building. Maybe my articulation isn't as strong as I want it to be, so I need to do work.
I know I'll never be the same. Shook my world so hard again. Wish I washed away my sins. He's a dead man walking, blank stare in his eyes. Should have given up on the ones I trust. Never should have been surprised when they shot him down. Cold blood to the ground.